The Albanese government, it stuffed up a case last year. We said a lot about it, with the High Court then effectively ruling that immigration detainees who couldn't be sent home must be sent free. And so even rapists and murderers were then let loose on our streets. Now another, based on that High Court decision. This time the federal court is freed from detention an Iraq-born man who came here illegally by boat and then faced a criminal charge for allegedly having a 3-year sexual relationship with a 13-year-old girl, a state ward, although it seems the charges were later withdrawn. This man was even convicted of common assault and assault occasioning actually bodily harm over a fight at the detention facility. Joining me is the Coalition's immigration spokesman, Dan Tehan. Dan Tehan, thank you so much for joining me. Now we've got an Iraq-born man who was charged with having a 3-year sexual relationship with a state ward. He's been now released from detention because he couldn't be sent home. Fair enough?
Well, once again, it's just a complete mess, and it's a mess of the government's own making. It's a mess, in particular, of the Immigration Minister, Andrew Giles' making. As your viewers will remember, Andrew, last year, the Minister agreed to a statement of fact which said that certain detainees couldn't be returned to their country of origin. After he'd done that, of course, panic set in. The government then tried to make it out that they were attempting to send these detainees to the US and other Five Eyes countries, but the High Court didn't buy it. And, of course, we saw 152 initially of these hardened criminals released. And since then, we've seen more and more. And we're up to now, I think it's 162, or, of course, the government doesn't update the figure. But we think it's now 162, and this is just the latest. And as we know, the government gave us all these assurances that these people would be properly monitored. Yet we now know that a large proportion of them aren't wearing ankle bracelets and are being monitored in the barest, minimalist way. So it's just another disaster, and it's why the reshuffle can't come quick enough, because we cannot have Andrew Giles continue in his position as Immigration Minister, because he's making public safety in this country a serious, serious issue.
Dan Tehan, there's another aspect of all this that really concerns me. As you well know, for years, our courts, particularly the federal court, has been clogged by refugees, so-called detainees, trying to figure out legal ways to delay their deportation, to delay the inevitable, challenge appeals, just eating up court time. And the effect of that is that Australians have delays in getting justice for themselves, let alone for these non-citizens. There are now 25 cases. This is getting worse, because there were 4 cases already of immigration settled by the federal court just last week. There are now 25 cases already being lodged now of non-citizens in the federal court demanding to be let out after that the High Court last year ordered the release of a Burmese pedophile that we couldn't send back. This is really hurting Australians, and I'm just wondering what can be done about this circus.
Well, you're absolutely right. The federal court has now set up a special project to deal with these issues, and has appointed special judges to look after it. So it is taking up the time of the court. There is no question about that. And what we're seeing from the government is no effort being made to address this situation. You'll remember that they wanted to put forward emergency powers legislation that had to be rushed through the Parliament in 24 hours. Now, we passed it through the House of Reps and said we wanted to have a look at it in the Senate. We've done that. We've said to the government, right, we're ready to work with you to pass it through the Senate. They won't even bring it on for debate now in the Senate. There are other things that have been recommended for them to do, especially when it comes to people who are using our courts, for them to be able to speed up the way these cases are processed so that we can get them through the courts much quickly. They haven't implemented those. So not only are we seeing these detainees clog up our court system, but also we're seeing last month a record number under this Labor government of asylum seekers asylum seeker applications. And our worry is that number is going to continue to grow. And we saw for the first time a doubling of the amount of Palestinians applying for asylum. You'll remember they came in on tourist visas, and the Prime Minister said that this was temporary. Well, now they're using the courts by applying for asylum here. So we're seeing more and more of this type of behaviour, whether it be from the detainees or from people seeking to claim asylum here.
Dantine, I wonder whether we're never going to get on top of this tremendous circus. It costs us so much in legal costs, legal delays, everything, that we got to withdraw from the Refugee Convention and declare that some countries, we don't care, they're democracies, they can sort out, like India or whatever. We will not accept any. We will not tolerate any refugee claims from countries like that. That is just a full stop. Otherwise, this, court shopping is going to continue. But look, you and I have worried about social cohesion for a long time. I know you've mentioned it many times, the attacks on the national symbols, national identity. Now we've got a Labor Premier, and I'm surprised about that, but, it's New South Wales' Chris Minns, good guy. He said that he wants more respect for Anzac Day.
It's an opportunity for the community to come together to acknowledge what has been a profound sacrifice by generations of young Australians on behalf of the country. And if we forget some of those basic tenets, if it's lost to future generations, if it's not commemorated on Anzac Day, then the essential character or the spirit of a country like Australia gets lost alongside it.
You'd back him on this, wouldn't you?
Absolutely. And I think, hats off to Chris Minns for what he's doing. I think it's absolutely the right move. But, Andrew, I do worry that we're having to take these steps to make sure that people understand the significance of Anzac Day. We have to ensure that people are being taught from a very early age the importance of this day, the importance of our symbols, the importance of our monuments. We saw the desecration of memorials along Anzac Drive in Canberra, one of the most heinous things I think we've seen in the last 20 years, that people would seek to do that. Right across the board, people are finding any way they can to disrespect what are important institutions and important symbols, important days, whether it be Anzac Day, whether it be Australia Day. And what Chris Minns is doing for Anzac Day, I think, is absolutely a step in the right direction. I think we're going to reach the point where we're going to have to do the same for Australia Day, because for all of us who know and understand the importance of these days, making sure that we protect them and protect the respect that they should be held, I think, is incredibly important.
Look, I agree. And if you get into government, you should pull back, reverse that government decision to let public servants take alternative days to Australia Day as their public holiday. No, it's for Australia Day. You don't want it, you lose it. Dantine, thank you so much for your time.
Pleasure, Andrew.
Minns has actually done is say there's a retail ban. Normally it's just during the morning. It's now going to be all day for most shops. So I think that's a great move.